Shalom, my dear friends. It's a joy to be with you again. I've spent over 40 years now walking through the scriptures, exploring the depths of the Hebrew and Greek, and every time I open this book, the Father Yahweh reveals something new. Today, I want to talk about something incredibly important, something that touches every one of our lives, every single day. It's a concept from our rich Hebraic heritage called lashon. Now, that might sound like a foreign term to some of you, but I promise, its meaning is something we all understand. In Hebrew, lashon hare literally means the evil tongue. It refers to speech that damages another person's reputation. What's fascinating, and what often surprises people, is that lashon hare isn't necessarily about telling lies. In fact, the classic definition of lashon hare is speaking negatively about someone, even if what you're saying is completely true. The core issue isn't the truthfulness of the statement, but the intent and the outcome. Damaging another person's standing, their good name. This is different from slander, which in Hebrew is motzi shem ra, meaning to put out a bad name by telling falsehoods. Lashon hare is more subtle, more insidious, and frankly, far more common in our daily interactions. It's that little piece of gossip shared over coffee that "did you hear about so-and-so" whispered between friends. It's the critical comment made about a coworker when they're not around. The Tanakh, what many call the Old Testament, is filled with warnings about the power of the tongue. In the Torah, Leviticus 19:16 commands us, "You shall not go about as a talebearer among your people." The Hebrew for talebearer is rakhil, which paints a picture of a merchant, a peddler, who goes from person to person, trading in bits of information. Think about that imagery. Are we trading in stories that diminish others? The book of Proverbs is a goldmine of wisdom on this subject. Proverbs 18:21 tells us, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." That's not a metaphor, my friends. Words have the power to build up and the power to tear down. They can bring life to a weary soul or inflict wounds that are deeper than any sword. Proverbs 16:28 says, "A whisperer separates the best of friends." How many relationships have been fractured? How much division has been sown simply because of careless words, because of lashon hare? Now, as believers in Yeshua HaMashiach, our Messiah, how does this apply to us? The principles are amplified. Yeshua himself taught in Matthew 12:36, "I tell you, on the day of judgment, people will give account for every careless word they speak." Every careless word. That's a sobering thought. It brings a new weight to our conversations. The Apostle James, or Yaakov in Hebrew, dedicates a significant portion of his letter to this very topic. In James chapter 3, he compares the tongue to the small rudder of a massive ship, able to steer its entire course. He calls it a fire, a world of iniquity, capable of setting a whole forest ablaze. He says it's an untamable evil, full of deadly poison. These are strong words. Why? Because Yaakov understood, as did the sages of Israel, that uncontrolled speech is a root of so much sin and destruction within the community of believers. So, what do? How do we practically apply this wisdom? The first step is awareness. We must become intentional listeners of our own words. Before you speak about someone, ask yourself a few simple questions. Is what I'm about to say true? That's just the starting point. Is it necessary? Is it kind? Will it build up or tear down? Will it bring glory to our Father Yahweh? If the answer to any of these is no, then the wisest course of action is silence. As Proverbs 17:28 says, "Even a fool who keeps silent is considered wise." This is about guarding our hearts, because as Yeshua taught, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. What we talk about reveals what we value. If our hearts are filled with love, compassion, and grace, our words will reflect that. If our hearts are harboring jealousy, bitterness, or pride, that will eventually spill out of our mouths as well. So, the battle against lashon hare is really a battle for the heart. It's about asking the Ruach HaKodesh, the Holy Spirit, to purify our motives and fill us with the love of Messiah. Think about the community of believers. We are called to be a family, a body. How can a body function if its parts are constantly attacking one another? Ephesians 4:29 gives us the positive command, let no corrupting talk come out of your mouths, but only such as is good for building up, as fits the occasion, that it may give grace to those who hear. Our speech should be a means of grace. It should be a gift we give to others, a gift of encouragement, comfort, and edification. Of course, there are times when it's necessary to speak about a problem, if a brother or sister is in sin. Yeshua gives us a clear process in Matthew 18. You go to them privately, one-on-one. You don't go to everyone else first. The goal is restoration, not reputation. The goal is to win your brother back, to heal the body, not to spread the infection of gossip. There is also a place for what is called lashon, which means the good tongue. This is the opposite of lashon, hare. It's about actively looking for opportunities to speak well of others, to highlight their strengths, to praise their good deeds. Imagine if our communities were filled with lashon hatov instead of lashon hare. Imagine the unity, the trust, the love that would flourish. This isn't easy. It requires discipline. It requires humility. It requires us to die to our own desire to be in the know, to have the latest juicy story. It means choosing love over gossip, unity over division, and grace over judgment. As we walk this path, let's remember the ultimate example, Yeshua, our Messiah. When you read the Gospels, notice his words. He spoke with authority. He spoke truth. He rebuked sin, but he never engaged in idle gossip. His words brought life, healing, and forgiveness. Isaiah 53 prophesied of him. He had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth. So, my friends, I encourage you today, let's take this ancient, profound wisdom of lashon hare to heart. Let us ask the Father to place a guard over our mouths and to keep watch over the door of our lips. As David prayed in Psalm 141, let us make our speech a source of life and healing in a world that is so full of words that wound and destroy. Let's be people whose words reflect the goodness and grace of the King we serve. Thank you for spending this time with me. May Yehovah bless you and keep you, and may our words always bring him glory. Please consider subscribing to continue exploring these deep truths together. Shalom.